Welcome back to Red Bull LAN Orlando. I'm here with Liquid Ret, who just wrapped up 4 intense Protoss vs. Zerg games. How do you feel after playing all 4 of them?
I feel pretty good. I think most of them went pretty well, except for the last one. But yeah, I feel like the whole making drones and making spine crawlers and investing your gas into units works out pretty well. So
I want to ask about game 1 that you played against Naniwa on Daybreak. It seemed like you were pretty much uncontested for the start of the game. I mean, Naniwa went for the 8-minute Nexus so early, and you easily got up all the spines, 5 bases, a bunch of Broodlords and Infestors, and at that moment, there were a couple of attacks that didn't quite work out so well. Tell us a little bit about that mid-game moment.
Yeah, I feel like Naniwa, even though I got everything uncontested, so did Naniwa, so I didn't feel like I was economically ahead or something like that. But he just got Mothership in time and had all the right units too, so it just came down to army management. And he did better than me at that. And I think I just need to play a lot of games where I get these kind of fights, the unit compositions, and then I'll know better like when I'm actually in position to attack and when I should push and when I should wait. And because I think I made a few mistakes, like I was trying to attack when I probably shouldn't have. And well, his unit control is very good as well.
Well, I actually want to ask about exactly that point you bring up about attacking sometimes, defending sometimes. I know that your usual, Roach, Hydra, Corruptor mid-game tends to be really aggressive, where you're attacking a lot. How did you feel with that switch over to Broodlords, where in a lot of circumstances, I mean, especially in that long game versus Nani, while you were standing and defending for most of the time?
Yeah, for me it's pretty hard because I still have like the idea where when I get Broodlords, usually I won the game, so I just want to attack when I get Broodlords. It's like the only thing I want to do. But lately it's probably, against Mothership especially, it's much better to defend and get like a lot of static defense and push very slowly towards the enemy. Whereas I have this tendency to just go once I have a certain amount of Broodlords because I feel like it's pretty hard to beat that unit, but Protoss has gotten so good at it that I just need to learn to be passive. And I played pretty passive in these games, but I still probably need to be a bit more passive. So
well, also, I mean, once the carrier started to come into play against Naniwa, you made a pretty brilliant switch in terms of your composition, making less Broodlords, trying to scramble out with the Corruptors. I mean, in a situation like that, have you been in that before? What was it like being on your feet?
Yeah, I've actually never played against carriers, like maybe once or twice against White Ra or something like that. But no, not in a real long game like that. It was pretty difficult because I ran out of gas. Like as soon as he got carried,
we saw all the empty geysers.
I think every geyser except 2 were empty on the map, so I just try to make ground units. It would have probably been better to go like more Infestors too, but I just didn't have the gas, so couldn't do much about it.
Well, I want to skip ahead to game number 3 on Dual Site, where you apologized for accidentally winning at that point in time. I mean, in the production tab, we saw you getting the Infestors, getting ready to get Hive, getting the Pathogen Glands, and I know that your focus is to try to work on the late game. Can you tell us, like, let's imagine that you didn't win with that Ling Mutalisk Harass. What was your goal in terms of transitioning to the late game? Because Dual Site's kind of a weirdly open map.
Yeah, that's why I like playing Muta on there, because you can't really get a defensive line where you can cover all your bases. So if I would have hopefully done a lot of damage with Mutas, and then I could have gotten Hive and used my already air upgrades that I got for Mutas to get like really strong Broodlords out on that map. But normally on that map, I like to do a lot of counter attacks to buy time to get Broodlords. So that's what I would have tried to do.
Would you have built the appropriately insane amount of spine crawlers to cover the north side of the map? I mean, are there choke points that you're looking for to try to hold?
I would have probably just made spine crawlers at every single base on that map. Yeah. Like 8 at each base.
I guess it makes sense then why you need to open Ling Mutas. You can get enough bases to get enough minerals to do that. And of course, the last game that you played against Parting, you looked like you were setting up into a good position, and you went for that mid-game Ling Infestor push at the 3rd base that you kind of moved in and had to pull back quickly against. Can you tell us a little bit about the motivation for that and what happened?
Yeah, I thought that because he opened air with a bunch of Phoenix, I kind of felt like he would make more Phoenix, and I thought that I would have a nice timing with Burrow Infestors and a lot of Zerglings. So I made a lot of Zerglings, but he already had a wall set up and Observer out in Colossus, so I really had no timing at all, which, you know, I made way too many Zerglings in the mid game, and therefore I was like going into late game, and you know, I think on that map it was probably a bad idea to do the Ling Infestor timing because of the easily wall off at the third base. I kind of wanted it to work like it did in games 2 against Naniwa, but it didn't. So I also messed up my rally point with the Corruptors. That I felt like it was kind of close on holding his push or not. If I had those Corruptors, maybe I could have held on a little bit longer, and it would have been a nice long game, but didn't work.
Well, either way, now that you've had this challenge, what would you say is the next step that you're going to be training when you step off camera?
I think that I'm definitely going to keep playing this passive way a lot. If Protoss is passive, I'll be passive too, and then I think I'll just work on improving my actual control of the units. Like, I know how to get the units, but to use them in the most efficient way possible is still something I'm really not sure about how to do. So I'll keep working on that and try to find new ways to, you know, break the Protoss.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Rhett. Congrats on some really nice games, some nice learning. And that is just the first of 2 challenges we're going to be having at the Red Bull LAN. Coming up after the break, we're going to be checking out Hasuobs and, of course, wrapping up the evening with some Fun Day Monday. So whatever you do, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more action. But for now, it's time to check out the venue that we've been hanging out at Full Sail University down in Orlando, Florida. See you soon.